The story of Kaylor Martin is a powerful lesson in ambition, power, and the consequences of playing the game in ways that many never fully understand. Kaylor was not just any entrepreneur, he was a figure who rose quickly from obscurity to the heights of influence and wealth, only to fall just as rapidly, leaving behind a trail of questions about what really happened. The rise and fall of Kaylor Martin is more than a cautionary tale. It is a deep dive into the complexity of modern success and the price one pays when the lines between integrity and strategy blur. Kaylor Martin's early life was far from glamorous. Born into a modest family with limited resources, his beginnings shaped his hunger for success. From a young age, he was fascinated by business and power, always watching and learning from those around him. The early struggles instilled a sense of determination in him that few possess. This determination would eventually propel him into the world of startups, where his sharp mind and relentless drive started making waves. His first ventures were small and typical of many aspiring entrepreneurs. Yet, unlike most, Kaylor had an uncanny ability to spot opportunities others overlooked. What truly set Kaylor apart in the beginning was his unique approach to networking. He understood early on that success is not just about ideas but about connections. Where others saw strangers, he saw potential allies, partners, and stepping stones. His charm, intelligence, and calculated generosity allowed him to build a network that seemed impenetrable. This network gave him access to resources and information few could tap into. It was in these early years that the game he was playing became evident. Kaylor did not just build businesses, he built alliances and loyalty, positioning himself at the center of a powerful web. Kaylor Martin's breakthrough moment came when he launched his tech startup focused on innovative software solutions. The product was revolutionary and addressed a growing market need, but more importantly, Kaylor knew how to leverage his connections to scale quickly. Within a few years, his company attracted significant investment, gaining the attention of major players in the industry. It was a meteoric rise that many admired and some envied. But behind the scenes, the pressure to maintain growth was immense, and Kaylor was forced to make decisions that blurred the line between aggressive business tactics and ethical boundaries. One of the most controversial aspects of Kaylor Martin's rise was his aggressive acquisition strategy. Rather than building everything organically, he preferred to buy smaller competitors or startups with promising technology. This strategy accelerated his growth, but also sowed seeds of dissent among his partners and within his own company. Many began to question if Kaylor was playing a fair game or simply crushing opposition to secure his dominance. These moves, while effective, began to reveal cracks in the foundation of his empire. Some of the companies acquired had cultural clashes, and the integration was often rocky, creating unrest and uncertainty. As Kaylor Martin's company grew, so did his public persona. He became a frequent speaker at industry events, admired for his visionary outlook. Media outlets hailed him as a genius disruptor, and he embraced the spotlight. However, with fame came scrutiny. Journalists and analysts started digging deeper into his business practices. Rumors surfaced about questionable deals, aggressive tactics, and strained relationships with former associates. The man who once seemed unstoppable began to show vulnerabilities. This phase of Kaylor Martin's journey highlights an important truth. When you reach the top, every move is watched, and every mistake magnified. At the peak of his career, Kaylor made a pivotal decision that many believe contributed to his downfall. He decided to expand internationally at a breakneck pace, entering markets without fully understanding the local nuances and regulations. This gamble was ambitious but reckless. In some regions, his company faced legal challenges, cultural misunderstandings, and fierce competition. The resources poured into these expansions drained the company financially and diverted focus from core operations. What was meant to be a bold step forward turned into a costly distraction, shaking investor confidence and internal morale. One cannot overlook the role of personal behavior in Kaylor Martin's fall. Stories began to emerge about his extravagant lifestyle, risky personal decisions, and strained relationships. Success had changed him in ways that alienated friends and partners. The man who once built alliances with charm now seemed isolated and guarded. This transformation is common among those who reach high levels of power quickly without a strong support system. The pressure to maintain an image and control often leads to destructive habits. For Kaylor, these personal struggles spilled into the professional realm, weakening his leadership and credibility. Around this time, regulatory agencies and competitors started closing in. Investigations into business practices intensified. Allegations of unethical behavior and possible fraud surfaced, shaking investor trust further. Kaylor Martin found himself embroiled in legal battles that drained both time and resources. The media, once his ally, turned critical and relentless. Every misstep was dissected publicly, further damaging his reputation. This phase illustrates the harsh reality of playing the game at a high level. One wrong move can unravel years of work almost overnight. Amid the mounting pressure, Kaylor made attempts to course correct. He brought in new executives, restructured parts of the company, and tried to regain control of the narrative. While some changes were positive, they were often seen as too little too late. The damage to company culture and public perception was significant. Investors began pulling out, and key clients reconsidered their partnerships. Kaylor Martin's empire started to crumble piece by piece. It became clear that success built on shaky foundations and aggressive tactics can be fragile. The fall of Kaylor Martin also involved a surprising element: betrayal from within. Close allies who once supported him turned into critics and whistleblowers. Some revealed internal documents exposing questionable decisions and misconduct. These revelations shocked the industry and intensified the legal scrutiny. Betrayal is a brutal aspect of the game that many fail to anticipate. For Kaylor, it underscored how fragile trust can be when the pursuit of power overshadows transparency and ethics. Despite the turmoil, there were moments where Kaylor showed resilience and a willingness to learn. He publicly acknowledged mistakes and attempted to rebuild relationships. However, the damage to his legacy was profound. The tale of Kaylor Martin became a study in how ambition and strategy, when unchecked by integrity and prudence, can lead to a spectacular downfall. His story serves as a mirror to many in the business world who believe that the ends justify the means. What is most striking about Kaylor Martin's rise and fall is how it encapsulates the complexity of playing the game of business and power in the modern world. The game is not just about intelligence or hard work. It is about navigating relationships, managing reputation, balancing ethics with strategy, and understanding that every action has consequences. Kaylor played the game aggressively, and for a time, he won. But in the end, the same game consumed him. If there is one lesson to take away from Kaylor Martin's story, it is that success is multifaceted and fragile. Building an empire is not just about rapid growth and dominating competitors. It requires patience, humility, ethical grounding, and the ability to adapt without losing sight of core values. The game is not about outsmarting everyone at every turn, but about creating sustainable value and trust. Kaylor Martin learned this lesson the hard way, and his story remains a powerful reminder for all who aspire to rise. So the question remains, was Kaylor Martin simply playing the game, or was he playing a dangerous game that no one can truly win? The answer may lie somewhere in between. His ambition and skill were undeniable, but so were the consequences of his choices. In the world of business, where the stakes are high and the spotlight is unforgiving, every player must decide how to balance risk, reward, and responsibility. Kaylor Martin's journey will continue to be studied and debated as a testament to the complexities of power and the human cost of success. Now, if you think about it, many people wonder why some powerful figures fall so hard despite their apparent intelligence and connections. The truth is, playing the game means much more than tactics. It demands emotional intelligence, integrity, and the humility to know when to hold on and when to let go. Kaylor Martin had many of these qualities but lacked in others, and that imbalance proved costly. Success is not just a destination, it is a process of constant growth and self-awareness. In closing, Kaylor Martin's rise and fall is a story filled with ambition, brilliance, mistakes, and hard truths. It shows how the desire to win can drive innovation and growth, but also blind individuals to the risks and ethical considerations that come with power. His legacy is a complicated one, full of lessons for entrepreneurs, leaders, and anyone navigating the complex game of life and business. The game is always in play, and how one chooses to play it will determine if they rise or fall. Thank you for listening to this deep dive into the life of Kaylor Martin. If you found this story insightful, consider reflecting on the ways ambition and ethics intersect in your own life or business. Success without integrity is a house built on sand, and the tale of Kaylor Martin reminds us all to build wisely,